Hi guys, today I'll be showing you how I paint an Imperial Fist Space Marine. As usual, I start off with a Chaos Black undercoat from a spray can. Next, through an airbrush I'm going to apply Parasite Brown to the entire model. I'll do a hand painted one from a white base coat soon. It's a completely different thing, so I can this time say you can do this with a paintbrush as well. But I'll be showing that in the near future. Using Scrofulous Brown, I now go over most of the Parasite Brown, just leaving the Parasite Brown a little bit visible in the deepest recesses. It's not a big deal if you cover it all up. Then, making a mixture of Scrofulous Brown and Dead White in a 2:1 ratio, I apply a highlight in a top-down manner over the entire model. Again, I try to avoid the deepest recesses and the underside of the elements of the model. Just make sure you keep spraying on from the top down. Then, using Moon Yellow, I made a glaze consisting of 1 part Moon Yellow, 2 parts water, and again through an airbrush I applied this. This is just to make the yellow a bit more vibrant. The difference is pretty big because the light was a bit off in the first couple of stages of the video. Sorry for that. Then, making a mixture of 1 part Scrofulous Brown and 2 parts Dead White, I'm going to apply an edge highlight to the armor pieces. I don't highlight the lowest and deepest parts. It's not needed. You're not going to see it on the table. Try and use as much of the side of your brush as possible. Moving on to the helmet, this is going to be a sergeant, so I'll start with just painting the entire helmet dark flesh tone. This is to make a nice base so the red will cover way better than over the pure black. Using Gory Red, I then apply 1 to 2 thin coats over the dark flesh tone until it covers nicely. This is then followed by a shade of Carroburg Crimson. And then again with Gory Red, I am going to paint in most of the helmet, making sure I leave the recesses untouched. So once this is done, we'll have the basic shading in place. Using a mixture of 1 part Gory Red and 1 part Bloody Red, I then apply a first highlight. I make sure I leave the previous layers a little bit visible, so we get a nice transition from dark to light. And then, using Bloody Red, I apply an edge highlight. I apply this to the outer edges, above the eye, underneath the eye, and on the, well, let's call it his nose. Using metallic black, I now am going to block in all the metallic parts. Especially on stuff like the bolter, you don't really need. We're going to paint the casing of the bolter in a different color anyway. Once that's done, I took Barley Grey to block in the grey areas. I chose to do a grey bolter casing. This has to do with the really light yellow, and I don't want the bolter to either fall completely away against the yellow or to be such a prominent piece that it distracts from the yellow. That's why I start off with a pretty light grey. grey, I also did, as you can see, one of the pouches. Once that's dry, I take Nuln oil and I wash both the metallics and the grey with the Nuln oil. Using gunmetal in a dry brushing manner, I'm going to highlight the metallic parts now. And this is followed by a next layer of silver, with which on most areas I just paint in little dots or lines to achieve the light effect. Only on the larger areas I'll apply this in a softly dry brushing manner. Next, going back to the barley grey, we apply a rough highlight to the grey areas. Just make sure I leave a little bit of the previous work visible and paint in most of the areas. I do this on both the bolter casings and the pouch. Next, making a mixture of 2 parts barley grey and 1 part white, I apply a rough edge highlight to all the grey areas. This is going to be followed by a much finer edge highlight, so you don't need to be really on the edges of the model. It's not a big deal if you miss a bit of the edge, because we're going to go over it in the next stage with an edge highlight. So by adding 2 parts white to this mixture, we're going to add the edge highlight on the inside of the bolter. So it's the other side from what we're seeing right now. I just do it on the outmost front of the bolter casing. Next, I take out the dark flesh tone again, and I'm going to paint in all the red areas on the model, so the shoulder trims, the chest eagle, the little round thing on his belt as well, and on the I painted up more of these, and on the other ones they had an eagle on the bolter casing as well. I painted that one with the dark flesh tone as well. Be careful not to hit the yellow. You can clean it up. Since it's airbrushed, you might better be careful not hitting it. Next, using gory red, we're going to paint over the dark flesh tone actually. On the shoulder trimmings, I made sure the dark flesh tone was close to the yellow on the inside, so that it acts as a shade for the red. With that done, I took Drucci Violet, and on the chest eagle I applied a wash of the Drucci Violet. Whilst the Drucci Violet is drying, I took charred brown and boxed in all the leather on the model. Then, using bloody red, I'm going to apply an edge highlight to the red parts. As for the eagle, on the wings, I stay on the outside of the wings, drawing really thin lines, as you can see here. Using a mixture of 1 part charred brown and 1 part earth, I now apply a really rough highlight to the leather part. I just want this color to be on there, leaving a little bit of the charred brown visible. Next, I'm going to paint all the parchments on the model using khaki. This is then followed by a wash of Agrax Earthshade on both the leather parts and on the parchment parts. Making a same mixture of 1 part charred brown and 1 part earth, I now apply with a bit more care. I apply a next highlight to the leather parts. This is then followed by a edge highlight of pure earth. Using khaki, I then highlight the parchment. I make sure I leave a little bit of the Agrax Earthshade and the earth from the khaki from the previous layers visible. And once that's done, I take bone white and apply a next highlight to it to finish it up. Again, leaving the previous layers visible, getting a nice transition from dark to light colors. Using bloody red, I then block in the seal part of the purity seal, and using dwarven gold, I do the same thing to the little skull on the helmet. Both these parts are then going to be washed with Agrax Earthshade. Then using black I'll block in this little screen on the arm of the queen. I painted the buttons with a random green and red. You can use whatever color you want. Using white, I then paint in these small scribblies on the screen. I don't know what to call it yet. Then using livery green, I make a glaze with water, and I just keep playing with it on the screen till the white lights up actually green, and it will give a little green hue to the black part of the screen on the marine. Next to the little skull on the helmet, I highlight it with dwarven gold and then thin line of silver. This is then followed with a wash of seraphim sepia to make the silver appear gold-like, achieve a nice highlight. Using bloody red, I then highlight the seal, or the purity seal, and also paint in a dot in the center. This is then followed by a next highlight of hot orange, again dotting the center. Then using Imperial blue, I'm going to paint in the eyes. It's okay if you go a little bit outside of the eye on the underside. It will give a little bit of a light effect. And I paint in the lenses on the bolter as well. This is then followed by on the eyes with a thin line in the center of the eye of electric blue. And on the lenses I do the same thing, but staying on the outer curve on the upside of the lenses. Then using white, I paint in little dots in the lenses and in the eyes. And that finishes up this model. I applied some transfers and did the basing. After varnishing, I applied some gloss varnish to the eyes and the lenses to give them a nice shine. So guys, like I said, I'll do a hand painted with a paintbrush painted one soon, coming from white. So I hope you like this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.